Hi everybody, it's Heidi Hope and it is FAQ Friday live from the HHP studio, and it's an exciting one, and it is our last one for a little while, which I hate to say because I love it so much, but I'm changing the format up a little bit for the next couple of weeks, and then we will be back in December. So why are we changing things up? Well, I have a very big announcement to make that I've been working on every week, late at night, early in the morning, for years now. Little by little, I've been kind of gradually putting this project together. It's something that people email me about on a weekly basis, and I've never had the time to really complete the project. But finally, I gave myself a little sabbatical this summer where I focused really heavily on it, and I got it all done for you, and I'm really excited to launch it. So let me tell you a little bit about it. We are going to be hosting live online workshops starting in January. I want to tell you kind of the story behind it. 5 years ago, I started this business, and if any of you have been kind of following along with Heidi Hope Photography for a long time now, you already know this story. But since we have a lot of new people in our audience, I want to talk to all of you who don't really know the background of our business. I started Heidi Hope Photography a little over 5 years ago. I was on maternity leave from teaching high school art and photography, and I started it with my camera and a laptop, and I really started it as kind of a small part-time business to maybe make a little extra grocery money on the side while I was on maternity leave. And my business took off really quickly. I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning, but a few years into business, when my husband Sean came over, we run the business together now, we finally looked at each other and we were like, if we don't change our business, we are going back to our old careers. So we made a lot of changes within our business, and since then we have turned Heidi Hope Photography into one of the most successful portrait studios in the entire country. And it didn't happen overnight, and a lot of people see our success story and they think like, that could never happen to me. Clients are in my area are never going to pay high-end prices, or the economy is so bad, or there's just too much competition, and there are photographers out there who are charging, you know, $100 or nothing at all to take pictures for people's families. So how do you build a clientele and actually build a real business in an industry that can be so tough and kind of cutthroat at times? And we were able to do that. And when we started it was almost 6 years ago now. It's one of the worst economies since the Great Depression. Rhode Island, I love Rhode Island, but it is not the most friendly small business state in the country. Between all of the taxes, the high unemployment rate, the corporate tax, the payroll tax, it can be a struggle for a small business to start up and to actually be profitable within this state. And then, because the economy is so bad, there are so many startup businesses who are quite competitive in our area. And so I'm facing all of the same challenges that all of you are facing, that I know that you're facing. So how do we do it all? Well, that is something that I've spent the past year teaching photographers in our in-person workshops, where photographers travel to our studio and we share everything we know with them. And if you know anybody who has taken a Heidi Hope Photography workshop, I would love for you to ask them how it was, because I am so passionate about not just showing you guys how to take pictures, because we do that obviously, but I am really passionate about giving you the tools that you need to not just take pictures, because let's face it, we can Google how to take pictures. I want to teach you how to leave and actually make a successful, profitable business out of taking pictures. And if you have a business that's already in place that's struggling, I want you to be able to turn it around. So why the online workshops? Well, for the past year, I've been doing the in-person workshops, and honestly, it has changed my life. There is nothing that I love doing more than connecting with other photographers and hearing from them after they have left the workshop how their business has changed and how their life has changed. And I feel like there's no picture I could ever take that would mean as much to me as when I am able to kind of help people out of a bad spot and kind of change their life for the better. So I get emails on a daily basis, and we get phone calls at the studio for people who are asking, who are saying, we can't travel to Rhode Island, you know, I have a young family, or I'm the sole provider for my family, or I live across the world in Australia or South Africa or in Europe. And so there are a lot of people who logistically it's really hard for them to leave everything behind and travel to Rhode Island for an extended stay, and I totally get that. So what I want is I don't want that to stop me from being able to reach people, and so I have decided to set aside an entire week where I can come into your living room or your office while you're in your pajamas, or during the workday, or while your kids are at school, or whatever, whenever the time is good for you. I can come to you and kind of teach you everything that I know about building a business from the ground up, and making it profitable in a competitive industry. So first, before we launch that, I really need your help. I am asking all of you who have been such an amazing audience to kind of connect with, and your questions every week have like inspired me. It's in so many ways in my teaching. I want to hear from all of you what your biggest struggles are, what your biggest questions are, and we already started this conversation over on the Learning blog. If you go to HeidiHope.com/learning, last Motivation Monday, I posted this question out to all of you, and I've gotten some really amazing questions to get started with. So thank you for everybody who joined the conversation on the blog. And I've even gotten some personal emails from those of you who didn't want to post it publicly, and I love getting those too. So thank you to everybody for the huge response we had to that. If you didn't join the conversation yet, I want to hear your voice. So go over to the Learning blog and leave your comment there with some of your biggest questions. In the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be answering those questions for you before we even launch these workshops. So the next 6 weeks, rather than having FAQ Friday live here on Google Plus or YouTube, I am going to be delivering it directly to your inbox. So I am taking your biggest questions and I am answering them straight out, and I am delivering them to you every single week. So there's a lot of great content coming. How do you get it? You need to make sure that you're signed up for our newsletter for photographers. If you go over to the Learning blog, HeidiHope.com/learning, there are little sign-up boxes everywhere. So just sign up with your email there and make sure you do not miss out on the next 6 weeks, because only our newsletter readers are going to get access to all of these great lessons that are coming. Okay, on the 6th week, you have a chance to win a scholarship. So you can get into our online workshop completely for free. So you want to keep your eye out for that. That will also be through the newsletter. And if you have taken an in-person workshop in 2014 or 2015, if you're enrolled for those, you all are, I can't tell you how important you are to me. I feel like you have changed my life. So there is going to be a great opportunity for all of you to join us for these workshops as well, because I owe a lot of my teaching to all of you. So thank you for hearing out my little spiel here. One more date I want to give you is November 7th is officially when we are going to open the shopping cart for the online workshop. Given the amount of interest that we get on a weekly basis for doing a live online workshop, I think these are going to sell out really fast. So I want you to mark November 7th on your calendar. I want you to save up or budget for it. Because this is a learning experience that I don't just want to be another learning experience. I want to give you everything I know so that you can change your life. So let's make it happen. All right, so that is all of my big announcement. Woo, online workshop, everybody's so excited. Now I need to get to all your questions this week. And since this is our last week of FAQ Friday, I am going to do as many as I can. We're going to broadcast for a full half hour today. I know ADHD, it's a really long time for everyone to pay attention. So if you can't watch the whole half hour, hit pause, whatever, and come back to it later. But we're going to get to hopefully all of these questions this week. And after this week, do not forget to sign up for the newsletter so you don't miss out on all the goodness and all the dishing that goes on in the next few weeks. All right, let me get my bowl. Here we go. We've got all your questions. So let's get started. Okay, Danielle asks, do you use a reflector? How do you remove the light the reflector leaves behind in the eye? Ugh. Okay, so Danielle, I think what you're talking about is the catch light, and the catch light is the whole reason I use a reflector, if I even use a reflector, but I tend to be kind of lazy, so I don't use one that often. We also have pretty soft, even lighting in our studio. So I don't have to use a reflector much, but when I get the catch light, I really like the look of that. I guess unless it's like in a weird place or something, I would leave it. That's like what I'm going for when I use the reflector. But if you have an example of it and you want to send it to me, you can totally do that, and maybe I can see what you're talking about a little bit better. Okay, let's go to Venus. She asks, what is your favorite action to use for indoor sessions and outdoor sessions, and why? Okay, so indoors, I don't use a lot of actions anymore. Really, I do most of my processing in Camera Raw, which would be like Lightroom, if you're using Lightroom. So I do the majority of my edits. I get it in Camera Raw like as close as humanly possible as I want it to look in the end, color, lighting, all that stuff. And then I just do skin softening in Photoshop and like touch up backgrounds and, you know, clone stamp and that kind of stuff. Composites obviously are Photoshop. I don't do a ton of actions on indoor stuff. Outdoor stuff, I love my Four Hens photography actions. Those are so much fun. I've also used Florabella's actions like since I started 6 years ago, so I've always been playing with those. I love Jinky Arts actions. Let me think. I don't know. Those are the major ones, I guess. I kind of love playing with actions, so I have like 2 million, and I can never find the one that I need. But yeah, I have a lot of actions in there. Those are some faves, though. Okay. Let's see. Amanda asks, how do you approach your clients about wardrobe choices, or do all of your clients just happen to have awesome style? Well, I like to think we have the best clients on earth, and they do have pretty fabulous style, but we do a pre-session consultation with every single session. So when you book an appointment with Heidi Hope Photography, you're booking 3 appointments: a pre-session consultation, your session, and your viewing ordering appointment. So in the pre-session, that's usually about 15 minutes, and during that time, we really help clients pick out outfits or wardrobe. We kind of answer any of the questions that they have about the session, and then we also know what they're wearing, so that we can plan props and little artistic touches to the session that will coordinate with what they're wearing. Great question, thank you. Okay, Cheryl asks, good morning, always look forward to your videos. Thank you, Cheryl. In your first years of business, in what mediums did you concentrate your advertising? Thanks bunches. We focused, or I'll say I focused a lot in the middle of the night, because I had a 6-month-old, on SEO. So I focused really heavily on my website and my search engine ranking. I'm making sure that I was visible to search engines, and I did a lot of blogging, and I then kind of got into social media after that. But 6 years ago, like Facebook wasn't huge yet, and I was kind of late to the Facebook party anyways. So yeah, I really focused on my website itself, my portfolio, blogging, and my search engine ranking. And I think it was like 3 years in before I did any paid advertising at all, and I've never found paid advertising to be particularly successful for my business for getting photography clients. And so we did it a few times, and it's super expensive, and we haven't done it since, because we don't really need it. For the amount of money you spend, it really doesn't give you good response. So okay. Amber asks, how do you store your files for your clients when downloading them from your SD cards? We use CF cards, PS. Do you use disks and put them into physical folders for each client, or do you store your raw files on external drives? How long do you keep your files as well? Thanks. Okay. So we store them in a lot of places because we back them up in a lot of places. So the first thing we do is bring the files from the CF card directly onto our computer. From the computer, we back up to an external hard drive, and we back up to our server. And a server is basically just like a big hard drive with network connections, so that all the different computers in our studio have access wirelessly to the same hard drive in basic terms. So, so they're backed up there. Then our server rather gets backed up off-site, so everything is kind of in 3 places at all times, and we tend to just, like, once something's full, we just buy a whole new one, except the server, that gets really expensive, so we add storage to the server, or we delete old stuff off the server as space is needed. Okay, great question, and I get that one a lot actually, but I don't think I've answered it on FAQ Friday before. Okay, Manasi asks, when you shoot on high ISO, what do you do if the client asks you for a big print? I always get worried while turning them into prints. First of all, my camera is awesome. I use the Nikon D4, and it's really good at high ISOs. It's just a great camera. It's a full, the quality of your camera and having a full frame sensor definitely matters when you're shooting in low light situations. So first, awesome camera, right? But outside of that, I also shoot in RAW. I make sure I nail the exposure in camera so I don't have to do a lot of fussing with it in post-processing. I do most of my post-processing in RAW to avoid degradation, and then I do my noise reduction in RAW and my sharpening in RAW. So I'm doing it all to the RAW file rather than later in Photoshop. The more you're doing in Photoshop to an image, the more that noise becomes visible. And if you didn't expose it properly, the noise becomes more visible. So I'm able to shoot at super high ISOs, and we could literally print it up to the size of a billboard, and you really wouldn't see that much digital noise because of all those things that I just mentioned. So those are all recommendations for you there. Okay, Ashley asks, hey Heidi, I've been dreaming up a business plan of my own for the past couple of years, not photography. So my question to you is, how did you take the plunge? How did you begin to build your portfolio and contract your very first couple of customers? Ashley, first, congratulations. That's very exciting. In the dreaming stage, I think, is kind of the most fun part, too. But it can also be really overwhelming because you see the big picture and you're like, what on earth are the steps I'm going to take to get there? And my advice is, like, just start doing one small thing every single day, because before you know it, those things add up. And I feel like if I never started, 5 years ago, I would obviously never be where I am today, but back then I never even dreamed of all this. Like, I couldn't even see this as the big picture. And so, I just kind of put my head down and worked a lot, one baby step at a time. So the first things that I did to get customers in the beginning, sorry, I'm going to throw that. So I thought like newborn photography was really my thing when I started. It's what got me into the business in the first place. It's what I fell in love with. It's what I was most passionate about. And it was something that wasn't really hugely popular in my area. So it was pretty easy to get the first few customers because nobody else was kind of offering it in the same exact way that I was. So first you need to find a way that you can stand out from the people around you, and it could be really slight differences that makes you stand out or makes your product stand out or makes your service stand out. And once you've defined that for yourself, I actually did a few portfolio building sessions probably for the first 2 months. I did some portfolio building sessions. Once I did those sessions, I got that work out there. So if it's not photography related, you can start by doing a few, I don't know what your product is, but you could either give a few products away, or if it's a service, you could offer to do it for a few people. And then make sure for those people that you're giving the product to or doing the service for that you really get some feedback from them, and you get some, maybe even a review or a testimonial, and then you can start to use that. Once I had my portfolio up and I had some reviews and testimonials, my business took off really quickly because people would find my work and it was something different, and they would book me from there, and from there it grew much more quickly, and you can also start to build referrals off of that initial base that you have. So that would be my recommendation. But I'd love to know more about your business, and I'm really excited for you. So congratulations on taking the first steps. Okay. Monica asks, hi Heidi, you're awesome for answering all of our questions each week. Don't know how you do it. My question is, when did you decide to start off offering prints and products as part of your business? Do you have a pricing or markup structure? Yes. So first, I always offered prints, like from day one. I was never digital only. I always had prints. And yeah, and people did order. I mean, when I started, it was like a lot of people were like, they couldn't decide, and so they were like, I'll just order 10 5x7s. We have changed our pricing to support our business model. So now, obviously, we have a huge studio that's over almost 3,000 square feet. We have 3 photographers, a graphic designer, a secretary. My husband and I run it together, and all the props, and then we're hosting workshops, and I travel, and woo, lots of expenses, right? So all of our pricing takes into account our business overhead, our cost of goods, the actual cost of the products, and paying ourselves, obviously, our salary and what we need to make. So those three basic things are what is the foundation of our pricing structure within our business. And then we price stuff accordingly. We've always sold prints and products in addition to digitals. And honestly, like, people do call and they say, what is the price of the digitals? That's a lot of times their first question. But nobody has ever, you know, seen our product offerings and not thought that it was a benefit that we offer so many great products. We have prints, organic bloom frames are hugely popular, canvases and albums through WHCC we love, and our digitals too. They're popular too, but they're packaged in with all of our other great offerings and people love them. So far so good with that. Okay. Christine asked, and I feel like one question is missing because I just thought of it in my head because I was trying to think of the answer ahead of time, from Katie. I don't know where it is, but so let me answer Christine's and Katie's kind of together. So, okay, Christine asks, I'm stuck on something rather specific. I hope you can help. I want to start opening my images in Bridge, but I use a Mac, and when I plug my camera in to download my images, they automatically open in my Mac photo viewer instead of allowing me to save the images to a file folder that I can then open in Bridge. Can you advise how to bypass the Mac photo viewer so I can instead save them to a file folder and then open them in Bridge? So I have no idea, honestly, Christine. So yeah, I don't know. I would say I don't know, if you restart your computer and you plug in the files and the Mac photo viewer comes up, in the settings, is there any way to be like, don't do this by default? Try that out. What I will do for you is I will try to find an answer, but I don't know it off the top of my head because that has never even happened to me. I've never used a third party for downloading photos, like even iPhoto. I know iPhoto will pop up, right? But then I would always just say, like, don't open iPhoto anymore. And so then it would just appear as a drive. Another thing you could maybe do, if Mac Photo Viewer opens, just close it out and then go into open a new Finder window, and on the left-hand side of the Finder window you're going to see all the different drives that are plugged into your computer, and you should see the card reader drive, and then if you click on the card reader, then you go into the subfolders, you should be able to find your files. Then you can drag and drop your files into a new folder wherever you want that to be. Then you can take that folder and open it up in Bridge and see everything in Bridge. So hopefully some of those help. Let me know if they don't, and maybe I can try to search around and find an answer for you. And the last question, and I remember seeing this, but I don't see it on my list, so maybe it got chopped off at the end or something, but there was a question from Katie, and I saw it in weeks past, and I wanted to get to it today, and she asked what my top 5 tips for mini sessions are. So first of all, you definitely need to be organized. You want to have a game plan ahead of time. You need to know what day you're going to release them. You need to know, I would definitely sit by the computer or phone. Like when we release mini sessions, our phone rings off the hook. We get a million emails, and so we need like everybody there to be able to respond to all the inquiries. So we make sure that our staff is ready. Make sure all the details are very worked out in advance. You need to know your policies for them. Like you should have everything prepared ahead of time. Any questions that clients might ask, like have them answered ahead of time. You could even have the sample emails responses written out ahead of time. The more organized you can be, the better, because I tend to find, well, first, mini sessions are high volume, and we are not a high volume studio, so that always kind of throws us through a tailspin. And then there are usually a lot of questions, and it's a lot of new customers coming in, so they don't already know all of our policies and our pricing and all of those details, or the booking process or anything else. So we try to simplify, keep things easy, and be really organized. So maybe that's 2 tips. But I am actually really excited because one of the weeks of our 6 weeks of emails, one of the content is going to be my mini session launch, the way that we do mini sessions, and we're able to generate a ton of revenue within an hour or two. Like our last mini session sold out in 2 hours. And there's a really specific way that we do them, which has been awesome for our, a fair way for our clients. In fact, we even just revamped it, the last one we did, to make sure that they can go online, book it themselves. It's so simple and easy. And we've been doing them for years, so I've really run into just about every problem on the back end. And I've come up with a whole system on launching your mini session. So that is going to be some of the free content in your FAQ Fridays for the next 6 weeks. So thank you, everybody, for your questions today. Thank you for being excited about this announcement and for all of your awesome feedback that you've given me in the past couple of weeks. Thank you for all of you who have joined us weekly for FAQ Friday. I have loved answering all of your questions. We are going to be back in December again, doing it the old school style of FAQ Friday like today. But in the meantime, make sure you go to the blog, HeidiHope.com/learning, and find a newsletter sign up box and sign up for our newsletter. And I will also post that link for the newsletter sign up right below this video once we get it uploaded. So sign up for that. I look forward to reaching you in your inboxes in the next 6 weeks. And for everybody else, I will see you back here in December. Bye, everyone.